Understanding, I'll start the session. Nice to be here. Of course, I had a hectic day today. Just in the morning, I was in the law college auditorium, and I landed from there here. I work in Western Ghats, and if you know the value of the forest, then probably you will think how to conserve it. Recently we published a book called Ecosystem Services. It's launched on 13th October of 2024. Okay. What I am going to do is give you the brief overview of what I have done over the last 2.5 decades. This is our portal where you get all our publications, and also the decision support system, what we developed, is available there. Some information I will provide now. The agenda of my science is to ensure clean air and water to the next generation. To some extent, we have failed, and to some extent, we have succeeded also. I am going to share those stories. Okay. Now, the theme of the conference is climate change, one other thing, and sustainability and environment. Now, let us understand this concept. Why climate change is a problem? Humans will take anything seriously only when they think that it's going to affect them. Otherwise, nobody worries about environment. So now, I didn't say why the climate change is happening, but look at what is the implication of changes in climate. The disasters will increase. What happened in Wayanad is going to happen throughout the country and throughout the globe. Then the second is the sea level rises. Kerala might vanish. Karnataka, some part might vanish. So that's where we have to be careful. Those who have come from the coastal area have to be careful. And more important, look at the loss. With 1.5 degrees Celsius increase in temperature, we lose 70% of corals. If you increase by another 0.5 degrees, it goes up to 99%. And insects, we lose 6 by 1.5 degree, and by another 0.5 degrees Celsius, it goes up to the 80, and plants will go to 16 from 6, 8, and the vertebrates, about 8 we will lose. I'm sure you all know vertebrates. Can you give the example? Huh? I don't agree. If humans had spinal cards, my country wouldn't have been like this. So please check whether you have it, and I'm sure you will see what I have said, you will understand. Okay? Then the drought. 350 million people get affected with 1.5 degree, goes up to about 410. And then sea level rise, which is 46 centimeter with 1.5, becomes about 56 centimeter. Okay, and the people who are going to be affected is equally high, 49 million. That's why we need to take the changes in climate seriously. Unfortunately, we have a big brother whom we have elected recently. He means Americans, okay? Who doesn't believe in changes in climate. The wildfire is there behind his home, but still he is not worried about it. But I think other countries will teach him how to understand and how to get adapted to the situation. Now, to summarize what I said so far, the implication of changes in climate is every one of us, irrespective of our status in the system, going to face a crisis. There is a food security problem, the water security, and disasters keeps happening. And more importantly, changes in the climate will increase the vector-borne diseases. Every time when there's a small increase in temperature in Kerala, you will see chikungunya, dengue, even COVID landed there first time in the country because of that, the temperature change in the region. Okay? Now, let me take you to my study region, Western Ghats. And you all know that Earth is only one we have. And how many varieties of plants and animals are there on the Earth? As per our scriptures, it's about 8 to 12 million species. And in science, we have said about 1.5 million species. Out of that, we know the biochemical composition of about 10 to 15%. About 85% we do not know. Already we have lost many. That's what is the seriousness is. And if you look at Western Ghats, why everything has to happen in Western Ghats? Western Ghats is only 5% of India's geographical area. 95% is there for development in other parts of the country and even in Karnataka. And in that 5%, we are so generous. We have identified eco-sensitive region, which constitute about 40% of the total, the 5%. That means only 2% of the entire area of country, we are asking for conservation. Is it wrong on our part to ask for 2%? Now today people talk about reservation and all those things. I am asking only 2% of our landscape to be conserved for our next generation. Why? Because if you look at the species occurrence, let us look at which part of the globe we have the highest number of varieties of plants and animals. When you see that, you will see at 8 to 14 degree latitude, we have highest number of the biodiversity, that means varieties of plants and animals. That 8 to 14 degree latitude corresponds to the Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Goa part of Western Ghats. Some of us are from that region. It's our responsibility to conserve that and give it to our next generation. That is on our shoulders, okay? So now, I think he's here. Hybrid seeds. Look at the varieties of when I talk about biodiversity, we have varieties of plants and animals. When you have varieties, you have variety of food. Because of that variety of food, your body gets immunity. That means you will get health because of the biodiversity. Now, in one taluk in Uttar Kannada district, I have 54 varieties of rice. And look at the brinjal. In one village, I have 16 varieties of banneka. If I hybridize it, I get a better product than your genetically modified this one. I don't have to be slave for the multinational companies. Do you agree? So now, what the students of today have to do is understand the strains and hybridize it. Lot of work for the students of science, environmental science, and other branches of life sciences. We have so much to do, but few people are there with brain. That is the challenge for us. And now, how I can take the technology into advantage for the conservation. I want to see which part has to be conserved. We done the satellites way back in 70s. Every 21 or 30 days I get the picture of the Earth. Now, because I have the pictures of the Earth at regular interval from 70s onward, I can see what changes are happening. If you have seen my photograph with Prabhakar about 25 years back in the same college, and today, you can see what changes have happened in each one of us. Okay? The same thing happens in the Mother Earth. And we have the picture of the Earth. That's what we have taken advantage. And these are the kinds of various data available. And we also have improved the analysis technique, analytics. We have the artificial intelligence and machine learning. Your domain may be environmental science. There is no boundary for you. You can learn these techniques. You can do the courses additionally and equip yourself with this additional knowledge. So Niranjan was asking about the question about environmental science fellows not getting the job. The environmental science fellows will get the job provided they know how to use their subject effectively in the job market. Okay. Now coming back to the subject, machine learning algorithms are there which has improved our analytical capability. Now, for example, to analyze one district, the land cover dynamic, I used to take about 8 to 9 months. But now, because of this machine learning algorithm, the entire Western Ghats, my student have analyzed in 6 months. The temporal data from 1985 to 2018, which shows that there is a decrease in green. Green is decreasing, that means we are losing the forest. Not only forest we are losing, forests are also getting fragmented. The students of science know the implication of the fragmentation of the forest, which leads to the inbreeding and extinction of the species. Now, we also predicted, because we have looked at the the 3 decades or 4 decades data, we can also predict what is likely to happen 10 years or 20 years down the line. That's what we did it. And we have only 10% of area under forest, evergreen forest in Western Ghats, and total area in Western Ghats is under forest is only 18%. What was supposed to be there is supposed to be 33%. Look at the irony of our country. Okay? Now the implication of these changes in the land cover is the climate. The Kerala will become warmer by 1.5 degrees Celsius. And the rainfall pattern will change. You know, the Kerala which was getting a large the rain will start receiving the lower amount of rain. Not only that, you know, whatever the rain comes, it falls in a short duration. We call it as a high intensity rainfall. High intensity rainfall will lead to the landslides and mudslides because of the deforestation, removal of the vegetation cover that has made the landscape unstable. Otherwise, the roots of the trees would have withhold the soil, and there wouldn't have been landslides or mudslides. You know, when we wrote this article in 2018, I had written a paragraph. Myself, my student, when we wrote a paragraph saying that we are going to have the situation of landslides and mudslides in Karnataka and Kerala. We published, this article was published after review in 2018. 2019 landslides happened. And this is the publication people picked up to understand what is landslides and mudslides. And my students who came to me with a lot of TV, the fellows used to come to my office, he said, "Sir, I think our science has reached the destination." I told him, "Don't worry. For 1 week people will worry. After 1 week, again we will have the same situation," I said. Exactly same thing happened. When Wayanad, the landslides happened last year. Again, the people started coming to us asking what is to be done. Look at the tragedy of Wayanad, which is ecologically sensitive regions, which are supposed to be conserved and protected. Because of the land mafias, they employ the people who are experts in cutting the trees. You know, they were given the job there to cut the trees. And those land, which are forest land, was converted into the tea plantation. And those workers, those people who cut the trees, who are professionals in tree cutting, they stayed in that region. And when landslides happened today, that entire community of 150 families were washed away because of the landslides and mudslides. Look at the tragedy. People who are professional in that job, we lost them 150 families. And why? Because of this mafia who pushed these people to convert the forest into the tea plantation, whereas these mafias are all staying as neighbors in Bangalore and the Mumbai and other places, whereas poor workers were there in the resort. They ended their journey because of the landslides or mudslides. See, that is where every mistake what we do, someone else will pay the heavy price. Now, let us try to understand the worth of the forest. You know, forest gives us the various goods and services. You get timber, you get firewood, you will get the spices, etc. Just quantify that, how much you get it, find out the market price of that, deduct the cost and the extraction price, so you get the benefit. Benefit multiplied by the quantity gives what is the worth of that product. And similarly, you quantify the ecosystem services, regulating services like oxygen production, shoreline stabilization, etc. The third is the cultural services. You know, we have sacred groves, etc., where people visit and perform the rituals, etc. I've seen, irrespective of communities, we all worship the water. In fact, when I go to Kerala, I see the Pampa River, where Christians, the baptism happens there, Hindus are there, and Muslims are there. In the restaurant. That means every one of us, they consider that our earth as a sacred this one. It is our duty to protect that. And if we do not know how to protect, I will tell you what is the worth of the thing. That's what we have arrived at. We computed what is the total ecosystem supply value, which is the summation of the regulating service, cultural services, and the provisioning services. And that is also accounts to the GDP, green GDP. You know, you all know GDP, gross domestic product, which is based on the consumption of your goods. If you buy a car, the GDP goes up. But it doesn't take into account the degradation cost of the environment. You have set up the industry in my forest area. How much forest I have lost and what is the degradation cost? It is not accounted in GDP. That's where we are pushing the government of India and other governments across the globe to quantify the cost of that ecosystem services. That when we account that, it becomes the GDP becomes green GDP, and then our development becomes sustainable. So that is what is the third concept we are talking about, sustainability. Now, let us understand the services provided by the forest. Take a simple example. The forest sequester the carbon. Does it? How many of you agree? The photosynthesis? Huh? How many of you are awake? Okay, all of you are awake. Okay, now I'll ask simple question. How many of you are breathing? What is happening to your carbon dioxide? Is sequestered during photosynthesis, stored in our plants. We have quantified how much is stored in the forest, above ground biomass, below ground biomass in soil, and also how much it gets added every year. Our quantification shows that 1.23 million gigagram of carbon is stored in the forests of Western Ghats already. And then every year 37,000 gigagram gets stored, which is equivalent to the emission happens in Trivandrum, Cochin, Bangalore, etc. That means the nature is doing some amount of the balance by removing the carbon. But if we remove the forest, then how will this carbon sequestration will happen? Now in economic terms, if you look at it, amounts to 100 billion rupees. The carbon services. You might ask how this is useful. See, when I attend the international meeting representing the country, I tell the people who are in the other side of the table that the carbon that is there in the forest in my country are the carbon emitted by them, and they need to pay us this much money so that when they pay that, that is called ecosystem survey. When they pay that, I can do the conservation without grumbling for the money. See, that's how the conservation can also happen. And now let us look at another important service of the forest, the water. How many of you don't want water? You don't want water? You raise your hand. No. There's a last fellow sitting there. I don't know what is it. 91. When myself and Ramachandra were quite young, we were traveling in this region. We had water. Today, you see that in the same day, same month, during monsoon, I don't have water. Okay? Now that is the implication of changes in climate. Now, to understand that, see, let me take you to Sharavati River Basin. We constructed a dam in 1965. With the construction of the dam, what happened? You see there was a land cover changes. See, the entire region earlier was a forest area. Now one part is forest, other part is a degraded land. Agriculture, barren area, etc. Now let us look at the rainfall. Today you have 125 years rainfall data. You just download the data, divide into two time period, 1901 to 1964 and 1965 to today. Because 1965 we commissioned this dam. You will be surprised to see that during 1901 to 1964, this entire region was receiving the rainfall of 3,000 to 4,500 millimeter. But today, after 65, that means after all of our born, we see that this side has 3,000 to 4,500, while this side 1,700 to 1,900 millimeter. That means there is a 50% reduction in the rainfall because of the changes in the forest cover. Now to understand this, what we divided it is this. We divided this region into sub-basin. There are tributaries, you delineate the sub-basin, and there are sub-basins on this side, eastern side, there are sub-basins on the western side. Now let us look at what is the forest cover on the western side and forest cover in the eastern side. On the eastern side, the forest cover is 30%, rainfall is 1,700. While on the western side, forest cover is 65%, rainfall is 4,800. Or the forest cover is 60%, rainfall is 4,000. See of rainfall, what you get matters. But that rainwater, how long it is there in your well, in your lake or river, that matters your livelihood. See, for that, what we did is we put a sensors in the underlying layer, in the underground, in various regions. One catchment dominated by forest, another one by the monoculture plantation, the third one by the building. Like that, 32 locations we chose, and we monitored for 3 years. Because we wanted seasonal variability as well as year-to-year variability. See, when it rains, if there are native species forests are there, native species forests are diverse. Because of the diversity, roots are diverse. When the roots are diverse, soil microorganisms are abundant and diverse. When soil or microorganisms are diverse and abundant,
soil microbial activity is higher. Because of that, soil become porous or permeable. When soil becomes porous or permeable, it allows the water to percolate. It fills this zone, which is a saturated zone. Then it fills this zone, which is the vadose zone. Only after filling the underlying layer, you will see water flowing in the river or stream during the monsoon. We have the water during monsoon because of the rainfall. Now, after monsoon, when you monitor this, you see the water that is stored here come to the river or a lake or a well for the next 4 months. And during summer, the water stored here comes to the river or stream or the lake for the next 4 months. That's how you have 12 months water, provided you allow the water to recharge. Groundwater recharge, if you allow that to happen, then you will have water for 12 months. But if you don't allow the groundwater recharge, as in Bangalore, then what you will have problem? During the post-monsoon, you will have the water problem as we faced the last year. Okay? Now, to summarize what I said so far, this is the region where 12 months water is available. This is 8 months, this is 6 months, and this is 4 months water is available based on our study. Now look at the vegetation cover. There, where native species forests are there, we have 12 months water. Wherever forests are fragmented, because of the intrusion of the monoculture plantation like rubber, acacia, eucalyptus, you have 8 to 6 months water. Somebody claiming the development, they convert the forest into rubber plantation. That fellow gets the benefit of that economic development, whereas the villagers lose the water for 4 to 6 months. See, that is what we need to understand that. And in this region where forest cover is less than 30%, we have water only for 4 months, that is during the monsoon. Okay? Now let us try to understand how it affects the livelihood of the farmers in the region. Farmers in this region, because the water is available 12 months, they can grow multiple crop or a cash crop. Their earning is 1,54,000 rupees per acre per year. Whereas farmers in this region, because water is available for 4 to 6 months, they can grow only one crop. Their earning is 32,000 rupees per acre per year. Now, where is 32,000? Where is 1,54,000? Another interesting thing, that is what environmental science students and botany and zoology, life sciences students can assess, is the productivity of the crop. In this region, because pollinators are abundant and diverse, pollination happens efficiently. Because of the efficient pollination, yield of the crop is higher. For example, the paddy, the yield is about 16 to 18 quintal per acre. Whereas here, where degraded catchment, you see that pollination is not that efficient. The yield of crop is 6 to 8 quintal per acre. Now, Government of India want to double the income of the farmers. What needs to be done? Maintain the integrity of the forest. The people will get their livelihood. Okay. We also quantified how much water is available in the region. We quantified what is the water required for agriculture, the livestock rearing, etc. And also during monsoon, how much water get infiltrated. In the forested area where native species forests are there, when it rains, 60 to 68% of the rainfall gets infiltrated into the underground. Because of that, you have perennial, streams become perennial. But in this region where forests are degraded, only about 32% of the rainfall get infiltrated. And in this region also there is a demand for water, but there is no sufficient water. Whereas here, you see the green bar is higher than the demand bar. This is a resource bar and demand. You see wherever forests are there, demand for water is higher. At the same time, we have enough water. There is a development with the forest. Here there is a development, but there is a scarcity of resource. Now what should be the developmental path we should adopt? This is the integrated approaches in development. Maintain the forest integrity, people get the water, people get their livelihood also. Now, I'll give 2 examples now. We identified 2 species of fish. We described them. They are new species, Sistura, the Nagodiensis, and Sistura shagatensis. The importance of that fish, it has a medicinal properties. It can be used for asthma and bronchitis. Now, as a scientist, I wanted to make money. I brought those strains to Bangalore. I cultured in labs in Bangalore. Believe it or not, none of them had any medicinal properties what we cultured in Bangalore like Bangaloreans. Okay? That means if I want medicine, I should allow that fish to thrive in that habitat. So when it thrives in that habitat, it gives us a medicine. Now for the fish to be there in that water body, water should be there for 12 months. For water to be there in the water body for 12 months, surrounding catchment area should have native species forest. Then only because of the forest, water is there. Because of the water, fish can be there. Because fish is there, you get the medicine. That is the linkage we have. Now today you go and see in Kerala or in Karnataka, all exotic species have come in which has no medicinal value. Okay? Now, let us, because we are talking about changes in climate, the implication. With the warming of the earth, changes in climate is inevitable. With the changes in climate, you are not going to have water on the earth. But how will the other animals survive? Without water, none of us will survive. So now, let us see how the other species thrive. For example, frogs. We call frogs as amphibian. Why do we call frogs as amphibian? I'm asking a question.
They complete their life cycle into.
Sorry?
They can live on land and water, like 2 life cycles, sir.
I was in the water in the morning swimming pool, now I am here. You cannot call me the amphibian.
They complete
You get the same answer in my class earlier also. You have not changed that after listening to my earlier talk. Yeah. Very good. The initial phase, the tadpole stage requires the water, juvenile stage, then the adult is on the land. Now if there is no water, how will the progeny thrive? We come across the young frogs in a region where there was the water. There was no water. We were surprised. Then when we monitored that reproduction, we noticed after the fertilization of the egg, on 14th day, the younger ones were coming out without a tadpole stage, which means the frogs have learned how to get adapted to a situation when there's no water. Then we collected those fertilized eggs, we brought it to Bangalore. We monitored that in Bangalore also to see whether in the Bangalore also it will. On the 14th day, we saw in our lab the young frogs were moving out in this one. That means it is happening. Frogs have learned how to get adapted. But with the changes in climate, with our irresponsible, arrogant behavior of managing natural resources, we will not have water on the earth and none of us will survive. You please make a note of it. I won't be in that situation, but some of you, if you are there, you will remember my statement, we are going to pay the price. That's what you have to tell my big brother, Mr. Trump. So, he's already 77. He is not worried about future generation. That's why he make irresponsible this one, so that he can amass the wealth on his graveyard. He can keep those currencies and sleep. Okay. Now, how will you take this idea or the knowledge to the decision making? We thought that let us make the portal where people can visualize which are the regions are ecologically sensitive. How did you do that ecologically sensitive? We divided entire Western Ghat into 5 minutes by 5 minutes grid, or 9 kilometer by 9 kilometer, which is equivalent to a panchayat, and then pulled all the data, bio, geoclimatic, all those variables we and assign the weight to each grid based on the relative importance. For example, if the forest cover, you see that this gives the gridded forest cover. If the forest cover is more than 60, we get the weight of 10. Similarly, intact forest, if it is greater than 60, we have given the weight of 10, and lower value for the degraded patches. Then we also did the carbon assessment and we assigned the weight. Now look at the endemism of plants and animals. You see that Kerala has a higher tree endemism. Then is the Karnataka. And when you look at the fauna, Karnataka has a higher the animal endemism. Endemism is restricted to that particular region. You won't get it elsewhere. That means you have to protect that habitat to get that particular species in that region. So now we understood Kerala landscape is important, as well as the Karnataka landscape and Tamil Nadu. Okay? Now we integrated all those things, and based on that we got the aggregate score for each grid. And then we divided that into 4 levels. Like you do the frequency distribution, we did that, and we graded them as ESR 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now you can visualize the red one are ESR 1, dark green is ESR 2, light green is ESR 3 and blue is ESR 4. Okay? Now we developed this portal, and which is you can access online. Okay, this portal you can, and also in the Google Play Store, there is an app called Sahyadri, Sahyadri. You can download. You can also visualize this. Suppose if you want for Kerala, you can choose Kerala, district Wayanad, then the taluk, and then the village in that. you're surprised to know that wherever landslide happened, it's all ecologically sensitive regions. That's why we need to protect the landscape in those regions to minimize the vulnerability in the region. Okay? Now that is what our elders have done. They identify the patches of forest. They are protecting it in the name of sacred groves or sacred forest. You see Lord Shiva, his head is covered with the hair. You won't see the bald head Shiva, because bald head Shiva won't retain the water on the head. So that's why you will see the thing. To summarize what I said, when Mother Earth is covered with the green saree of native species, she retains the water for 12 months and you all have life because of that. When we convert that, the saree, green saree of native species into the synthetic saree, then she will retain the water for 6 to 8 months. That means you will lose the water for 4 to 6. When we degrade the catchment to less than 30% forest cover, you will have water only during the monsoon. That's where our elders protected the forest as a sacred grove. They knew that if they protect it, they will have water in the well. And they knew that the next generation is going to be responsible. That's where they put some guard in that place, irrespective of the community, irrespective of the religion. There are some villages where the people don't believe God. They have put some daityas there. That is also there. If you go to Kerala, you will see cans or cows are there where this kind of thing practices are there. That's how we practice the conservation. Okay, but today daityas are much more than that. The entire landscape in Idukki is followed by the forest is followed by these land mafias. That's an unfortunate thing. Okay, now let us learn sustainability. At least I learned sustainability from this lady, who is about 65 plus. Okay, she goes under the water and stays in the water for 3 to 4 minutes to collect 1 bucket full of biogas. She is 65 plus and she does that. I also tried to do it. After 2 minutes, I realized that I need oxygen. I just have to pop out of the water. And then when she collected a bucket full of biogas, I was curious. She was not going for the second bucket. I asked her why. She said, if I sell this, what I collected today, in the market, I will get 350 rupees, which is sufficient for me to run my family for today. For tomorrow, I will earn tomorrow. That is the renewability. If you don't pour harvest, there is a renewability of resources happen. That is the concept of sustainability. That is the theme of your conference. I touched up on the climate change. I also touched up on the environmental degradation, and finally the sustainability aspect. This is what you have to do. Now, as a student of environmental science and other life sciences, you don't have to go for a mugging of the thermodynamic principle. Just look at this web, the food web. The material and energy transfer happens from one level to other. When producer produces food, the solar energy is converted to food. And then when herbivores eat, the food is transferred to the next level. That means the first law of thermodynamics you are learning from this. And every time when there is a transfer of energy and material, there is a loss of energy. That is the law of entropy which we learn in the third principle of law of thermodynamics. And finally, whatever is left in the system gets converted into elemental form by bacteria and fungi. That is where the concept of bioremediation is that today is the emerging area. If environmental science students today tell me that they don't get a job, I do not agree with them. Because there are a lot of opportunity, because they have learned this concept, they can have the technology. That's what in the last session there was the successful youngsters were talking about how to make up their life with this technology, etc. Okay. Now let me bring you to the Bangalore. Bangalore is a undulating terrain. Earlier river was passing. Our elders put the pumps at regular interval, and that's how the flowing water is converted into stagnant water body. Don't call this Bangalore water bodies as a constructed, right? Or the tanks. It is converted into the lentic, lotic system is converted into lentic system to meet the irrigation and domestic water requirement. Now, if you remove the lake, what will happen? I have studied. When there was a lake, surrounding the wells had water at 100 feet. When lakes were removed after 4 or 5 years, it went down to 600 feet. Today, 23 years, people have gone down 1,800 feet, there is no water. And the same set of fellows are looking for water in the moon at a place called Nagshettihalli. We have lost the resources in the moon. Okay, now you might ask, if I rejuvenate the lake, will I get back the water? I was a part of the Saraki Lake rejuvenation. Within a year of lake rejuvenation, the groundwater table went up by 300 feet. And not only that, last year, when entire Bangalore was facing water crisis, in Saraki Lake there was abundant water. And because of the abundant water and moisture content, the temperature in that region was at least 3 degrees lower than the city temperature, where the entire city was facing heat wave, but not Saraki Lake. That means we have the answer. If we manage our natural resources, we have solved our problem. It is not a global problem, it is the local problem created by our mafias in the system. And mafias will be there as long as you fellows keep quiet in the system. That's where the spinal cord plays a role. Now let us look at the worth of the lake. If the lakes are good, you get fish, water, etc. to an extent of 10,500 rupees per day per hectare. Most productive ecosystem. And when we pollute the lake, it comes down to 20 rupees per day per hectare. Who are the people dependent on the lake? Fishermen, washermen, farmers, and people like me who do the science with the lake. And who are the people contaminating the lake? People who are sitting on the other part of the Bangalore, discharging their sewage. They do not even know where the sewage is going out. That's a pathetic situation. Okay. Now, what are the threats to the wetlands? Unplanned urbanization. The city landscape in 70s had 68% green cover. Those who have followed me in YouTube, you would have seen my statement. I said absence of water urbanism led to the concretization in Bangalore. Forest landscape was transitioned to the paved landscape. That's where the groundwater recharge didn't happen. That's what is evident from here. 68% green cover and 7% is the red of the building in Bangalore 73. Today, 2025, 87% is concretized. See, 1973, most of you have not enjoyed this Bangalore. We had 68% green cover. Only Prabhakar, myself, and maybe Madam might have been there. You are not there in Bangalore.
No, I would be.
Then, 92, with industrialization, changes happened. Then 2000, ITPT sector came in the outskirts, changes started happening. Then the intensification, then further intensification. And today, we are in a situation where there is no oxygen. People use oxygen cylinder. See, when people have some bronchitis or asthma problem, no. Earlier they used to go to the park and sit and come home. There was no oxygen requirement. Today, they are carrying the oxygen cylinder at home. So that is the bad situation. The same statement about water I had made 25 years back. I had made a jovial remark saying the day is not far off, we all will carry water bottle in the desert. And today everyone is carrying the water bottle, plastic bottle. Fortunately here the less harmful, the glass is here. Otherwise in most of the program, they talk about sustainability, but glaring plastic bottles are kept on the table, a lot of photographs are taken with that, all the delegates sitting on the dais talking about sustainability, without even knowing the implication of the plastic. The city landscape has witnessed 1,078% increase in concrete area. We lost 88% vegetation, 79% water bodies. That's where I said enough is enough. Let us decongest Bangalore. 2014, what I had predicted in 2014 has come true in 2024. When that water crisis happened in Bangalore, what statement I had done, and through my interns from, BBC and all those places, the student had come to my lab. They wrote the report and that became quite popular. Cape Town, next to Cape Town is Bangalore and all. At that time, some people criticized me. But 24, when the water crisis happened, they all accepted the science never lies with the people. It gives the facts, okay? So now, look at the concretization happened in Bangalore. 8%, 7.97%, today it's about 87%. There's a limit for concretization. 30%, 33% has to be green cover in the region for the region to be livable so that we will have adequate oxygen. But what we have is less than 14%. That's unfortunate. Now, let us see how many trees are there in Bangalore. This is my campus, 400 acres. We map the plant, the species wise, and link with the remote sensing data. Like this ground measurement, we did it in a couple of hours. Then using remote sensing data for entire Bangalore, we did extrapolation. And our quantification shows we have 14,78,000 trees for a population of 95 lakh, the stable population. Okay? That means for every 7%, there is one tree. How many trees are required per person? You all said that you are breathing. Am I right? If you are breathing, those who are in the age group of 15 to 30 are giving out carbon dioxide to an extent of 980 grams per person per day. And those who are sitting in the front row, some of them are, not you, okay, are giving out carbon dioxide 540 grams per person per day. 1 hectare of tree takes away the carbon 7 to 8 tons per year. By that ratio, for every human, there should have been 7 or 8 trees. What we have is 7% 1 tree. You might get excited with my statement thinking that this is something great I have done. Look at our scriptures. Bible talks about importance of trees. How many of you have read Bible really? Okay. Why do you worship the tree on the Christmas day? Sorry? Okay. If somebody is doing it, what is the thing? Why that? What is the Christmas tree significance? Okay. Anyway, I have read Bible, so there is at least 320 times mention about nature conservation. I look at the positive aspect. Okay. Then I looked at Quran. Quran talks of imminent war if you pollute the water. That's why if you visit Dargah, you have to wash your feet and finger with the clean water from the well in the Dargah. They thought that if you practice in Dargah, you will practice at home and in community. And if you look at the scriptures which I follow, brings out so nicely the linkage between the water and the children and the tree. If you have a well at home, you are wealthy. 10 wells are equal to 1 lake. 10 lakes are equal to 1 sarovar. 10 sarovar is equal to 1 child. And 10 children are equal to 1 tree. Now you see the beauty of the thing. Instead of having 10 children, you can get the same benefit by having the nurturing a tree. I'll put it other way. When you cut a tree, you are murdering your own 10 children. See how powerful that would be. When I write like that. I won't write that it is equivalent to 10 children. Benefit you will get equivalent to the having 10 children. I say that when you cut a tree, you are murdering your own 10 children. That becomes quite effective. One of the forest officer came to my office. He had tears in his eyes. He said, I have to remove 179 trees because of the road widening. If I remove it, tomorrow you will write another article saying that I have murdered 1,790 children. If I don't remove it, I will lose the job because the government has given the job. You have to give the alternative. Then I told him what is to be done in the vacant land nearby. He took up that. So that means through science, you can also make changes. That is where sustainability can be ensured. That's how the science should work. You should never think as a teacher. Science is not a job like industry. You should be awake even in the midnight. That is the job of a teacher. I have worked in an institution 25 years without taking one day leave, even worked on Sundays. If you call me on Sundays, if I'm not traveling, you would see that me responding to your call. You can ask my student, they'll also confirm it, okay? So that way, I always consider teaching is a noble profession. Research is much more than that. When the God has given me that opportunity, I should give a maximum to my country and to the globe. That's the thing. That's how we have converted the simple technology for the benefit of the society. Let us look at the number of lakes in Bangalore. What was 756 lakes? Today I have 216 lakes. 540 lakes people have swallowed in Bangalore over the last 4 decades. Okay? And we have lost 79% of the water bodies. And that's where I thought to take it to the decision making, we developed the Bangalore Urban Information System, which gives the details about urbanization and what needs to be done. When there was a water crisis last year, this portal was so effective. I see everybody using the thing there. Generously, they copied this and they prepared their own YouTube video, and my videos crossed about 40K. Whereas somebody who has copied this and developed the video and have the background thing in Hindi, it has cost 7.9 lakhs. I'm not saying that you should copy it. I'm saying that, see the importance of this kind of the knowledge that is required in the system. Okay? Okay? Now let us look at this one. You're talking about climate change. The carbon footprint. You see that wherever the public transport is being, we see the higher emission from the transportation sector. For example, 54% from Hyderabad and 46% from Bangalore. And another sector
I do not understand why people want to have this kind of architecture in Bangalore. This architecture is meant for European climate or temperate climate, where to get a thermal comfort in a cold environment, you have to retain the heat inside your building. That is where that kind of architecture came. We have trained our youngsters, they all pass through the copy-paste culture. Our architects went to those countries, they copied that architecture, they come to India, they pasted that in our the implication of the copy-paste culture is, how many are architects here? One lady here. She left. Then, I did a study to find out, if it is a normal building, what is the electricity consumption? If it is a glass facade building, what is the electricity consumption? In the normal building, per year, per person, electricity consumption is 750 to 1500 units. Whereas in the glass facade building, it is 40,000 to 70,000 units per person per year. 10 times higher electricity consumption means 10 times higher carbon emission and 10 times higher carbon footprint. That means this kind of illogical designs is contributing to the warming of the earth, and that's how, unplanned urbanization led to the loss of ecosystem and enhanced pollution led to the warming of the earth, and that's where we are facing the crisis of floods, disasters, etc. Let's look at the temperature of the region. What was 19 degrees in 21, what was 21 degrees in 90s became 24 degrees in 2000 and 28 degrees in 2010, and today it's about 36 to 38 degrees. And if you move from the center of the city, you will see wherever water bodies and parks are there, open spaces are there, the temperature is at least 2 degrees lower, which means the water bodies and the green areas act as a heat sink. They mitigate the heat. When we talk about next month, you will see the people talking about heat waves. Already the other parts of the country, people are talking about it. Yesterday I was in North India. There was a heat mitigation plan. People are spending lakhs of rupees to do that. My simple tree was doing that job of mitigation. We have forgotten that. And other thing, flooding in the region, quite common in Bangalore every year. Okay, and I will skip that. Okay. Now, how the lakes are being used? To dump solid waste, and people encroach the lake. They convert into the Lakeview apartment, and they send the sewage directly into the lake. And this lake, Belandur Lake, receives 600 million liters of MLD of water, the sewage every day. And those who are away, they send it through the tanker. The lake which was like this, when I was sending a student about 2 decades earlier, it was like this. When you look at the sewage was entering, but at the outlet, dissolved oxygen was higher. That means when the water moved from inlet to outlet, there was a treatment happening by the algae, and bacteria. But today, there is a profuse growth of macrophyte. Because of the macrophyte, there is no sunlight penetration. In the absence of sunlight, algae doesn't grow. Because of that, fish doesn't grow. That means the value of the lake comes from 10,500 rupees to 20 rupees per. And another thing happened in 2015 was frothing of the lake on fire. When frothing happened, it became international news. I had prepared a blueprint on that. At that time, I released it to the press. It became an international news also. I had said that if you treat the wastewater before letting it to the lake, we have solved the problem of the frothing. Because frothing had a phosphorus. When I analyzed that, it had phosphorus. From where the phosphorus comes? From the detergent. For removal of phosphorus, you need to treat the water. But instead of that, what our babus did in Bangalore, they put the parachute. They thought that if they put one wall, they have solved the problem. I wrote an article saying that this is only 4 days solution. It's not going to solve the problem. One of the bureaucrats called me and said, "We know you always criticize. We are used to your criticism." I told him, 4 days. Then, as I predicted, on 5th day when it crossed over, media also picked up my statement. They said, IISc has predicted it, but Babus have spent 2 crores for constructing this barricade. Their agenda is to spend money. This will continue as long as the science students don't wake up and take up the science seriously. Okay? Now let us look at, if you don't take up seriously, what will happen? Wastewater will enter the lake. Wastewater has heavy metal. That water is used for growing vegetables, and the fish in the lake come to the Bangalore market. Some of you eat fish. Okay? Now, I analyze the fish and vegetables that are grown there like the pudina, spinach and the radish, etc. All of them had heavy metal. You know, having heavy metal in our food is crippling the health in the city. The cancer, Bangalore is number 1 today. And kidney failure, which was 1 in 1 lakh about 12 years back, today is 1 in 5,000. And every ward in Bangalore has a dialysis unit. Look at the tragedy of Bangalore. You know, and more children are getting exposed to this kidney failure. Well, I have an environment education program. I go to the rural schools in the peri-urban area. You know, when I go to the Vartu, Ramachandra, I found a boy having a kidney problem. I thought maybe it's a problem of government school. Then I went to another private school. When I went there, LKG, 2 children, the girl children had lost the kidney. And in 8th standard, the one girl child had lost both the kidney. After 8 months, when I visited the same school, I asked the principal, I said, I want to meet this 8th standard kid who has lost both the kidney. Principal told me, she is no more. And also the secretary guard in the school had died because of the kidney failure during the same period. You know, the youth are the asset of the nation. We are losing the youth because of our irresponsible action of contaminating our land, water and the surrounding air. And that is the duty of an environmental science student to bring out these anomalies in the system. There's a lot of job for the environmental science graduates and life science graduates, okay? If you have a brain, you should prove that you have a brain, okay? By doing this kind of work. Okay? Now, I developed the rejuvenation blueprint, how to improve the condition of the Belandu. You know, my report was in the government, 2 years, nothing was happening. Some youngsters met me. They were quite emotional. They said, sir, we will do anything. I pulled out my report. I said, you take this to the Supreme Court. Believe it or not, Supreme Court, Green Bench, penalized the government of Karnataka 500 crores, which is kept in the escrow account, and rejuvenation of Pelandur and Vattur Lake is happening now. I'm a member of the NGT, the committee, okay? And look at the thing. See, one is decontaminating the lake. I had only 2 prescriptions. Arresting the contaminant coming to the lake. That means treat sewage and industrial effluent before you let into the lake. Second is decontaminate the lake. For that you need to desilt the lake. We did the quantification of how much silt is accumulated in the lake. And you know, that is where army people also joined hands. They provided boat and soldiers with us. We could carry out the study. And we found 11 million cubic meter of the silt is available, stored in the lake. When I released this report, some other people started criticizing me, saying that TVR is going to create the traffic problem in Bangalore by removing 11 million cubic meter of the silt. Every day thousands of trucks will move on the road, etc. But they didn't know. The TVR takes the thing seriously and come up with a logical solution. What I did is, I looked at the quality of the silt. The Varto Lake silt didn't have the contaminant. Other one had some contaminant. I said that will go to the nearby quarry pit. Whereas the Varto silt, I had a meeting with the farmer. You know, I convinced the farmers to put that silt in their agriculture field. In fact, farmers told me, sir, you have been working with us for the last 2 decades. Whatever you say, we will follow that. I gave the silt to the 400-acre farmers. Okay? Not one fellow, many fellows. Every month I visit the region as a part of the rejuvenation committee. When I visited the lake catchment, you know, farmers came up with this bumper crop. They loaded my vehicle with this kind of bumper crop. You know, each farmer tells me they got the benefit of 1.5 lakh rupees per acre because they didn't use the fertilizer. The silt had nutrient, and because of nutrient, they got a bumper crop. With that, every farmer has got a 1.5 lakh rupees per acre for one season. They grow thrice a year. You know, 4.5 lakh rupees per acre. Each farmer gets a benefit. If you want, you can go there and do the studies as a part of as a part of the curriculum, you can do this kind of studies, okay? So then I thought the work, what we have done in Bangalore, you know, we have monitored all lakes in Bangalore. In fact, I keep telling everyone that my team has tested the sewage of Bangaloreans, irrespective of which the region they are from, because those who work in environmental sector know that we have to touch the water. And we do not know, after touching the water, we would have gone to the hotel to have the food also. So we would have tested the thing. That data, we have made it available to the public through the BLIS, Bangalore Lake Information System. which has the details about lake wise, water quality, what kind of zooplankton, what kind of algae, what kind of fish is there, what is the economic worth. Not only that, I've also put how much lake is encroached. That's the important information, okay? So that is where, and water scarcity, what needs to be done, I have talked about it. Now, my technology. Look at the technology, what we have given. See, Jakpur Lake, surrounding Jakpur Lake, when I studied in 2005, the bore wells and wells were there, 25 were there. All of them had nitrate. Nitrate is a carcinogen which introduces cancer. Then I pushed the government at that young age to rejuvenate the lake. When the government took up the rejuvenation, I was a part of the committee. And then, they gave the money which was not sufficient to have a tertiary treatment plant. You have 3 levels of treatment: primary, secondary, tertiary treatment. Primary treatment will remove large particles. Secondary treatment will remove the ions, chemical ions. The tertiary treatment will remove the nutrient. Now the nitrate problem is a tertiary treatment problem. I need to have, but it's very expensive. But government gave the money which is not sufficient to have the tertiary treatment plant. I could have only secondary treatment plant. Then what I suggested and what I convinced the committee members, Elaborati was the chairman of the committee. I told him, let us have nature-based solution. I integrated constructive wetland and algal ponds with that. And last 10 years we monitored this, and about 85 to 90% removal of nutrients happened. And today, surrounding this lake, there are 300 wells are there. None of them have nitrate. I have a satisfaction of giving a clean water at least to those 300 well users in Bangalore. Don't you think that is a contribution from the side? So, then, what else we have? When Bangalore was facing water crisis, my solution was economical, low cost option. And creating water body was the thing, and creating mini forests, and all this experiment what we did, we also monitored that and we put the data. My 2.5 decade journey also ended with a good collection of the data also. Every time when we did how to translate this into final product, we used to think about it. And another interesting thing is environment education at all levels. At school levels, I have a program called Know Your Ecosystem. Like bank, if you go, know your customer is there, no? Like that, I have Know Your Ecosystem program. My vision is to have sensible youth in the system. When youth are sensible, they become responsible. And that is what my country requires, the responsible youth. Otherwise, every fellow criticizes the system without doing much. He thinks that he or she is the better person to know the problem of the country. Okay? So now, see, this is the water body I have created in the campus. It is a perfect lab for my students to do the biofuel study. Not only my students are happy, I have otters in the campus. At one end I say Bangalore is dying, other end I have otter in the campus. And I have, when we did the biodiversity, it had enough algae, zooplankton, fish, etc. That means nature knows how to maintain the balance in the system. You have to just facilitate that. Okay? And when I meet people, when people are in distress, they come and meet me. In Mudbidre, the saint has faced a severe water crisis in the Mudbidre for 2 years, 2014 and 15. And when he met me in 2016, he talked to me about, I was in St. Aloysius conducting a workshop there. Then I received a call from this saint saying that I want to talk to you. I told him that I have a session till 7 o'clock like today, you see that. And I can meet you only after 7 o'clock. When I traveled from Mangalore to Mudbidre, it was about 2 hours journey. 9 o'clock he listened to me and he said, I have 12 acres of land. We gave a proposal to create the water body in his campus. The youth gave the I don't require water, don't worry. So, and the youth gave the, success is because of the youth. All of them are less than 40, including that saint. And where youth is there is a positive energy. You can translate that positive energy into the productive system. That is what we are looking for. If I have come here, it is not that I wanted to give a lecture. I was making an investment on about 70 plus youngsters listening to me, because at least 1 or 2 out of that, if they start doing this, I have done my job. And I am fortunate to have many students who have taken up this profession seriously. Just now Ambunath talked about the thing. He was my environmental management course student. Okay, that's how we have the talented youngsters coming out of the system. When I saw the success there, I told Swamiji, that saint also, you take up the rejuvenation of the lake in the Mudbidre, there are 32 lakes. He said, no, I don't have resource. I told him, you do at least 1 or 2. And as per my suggestion, he did 2. Because he did 2, the community did the remaining 30. The last year when entire Karnataka was facing water crisis, Mudbidre didn't face water crisis because of this lake rejuvenation. That means we have the answer to our water crisis, what we should do. And that lies behind the youth of the country. When I saw the youth, CEO of Alvas is also quite young. Then I convinced him to have a water body in his campus which stores 25 lakh liters of water. And he took up the native species planting in the catchment. And after next year when I visited, you can see the greenery with abundant water and smile on her face. Also, I will give another very interesting thing. This gentleman, when he met me, he was a bachelor, trying to get married, unlike Bangaloreans. All these faceless fellows, they will get married through the Facebook, and next year they will file a divorce paper. But he was not doing that. But believe it or not, after creating this water body, I had told him jovially, in another 6 months, you will have your partner, I had told. As I predicted, he got a partner in 6 months. Wonderful partner who take care of the joint family. If you have a children at home of marriageable age, you can think about doing this kind of nature-based solutions. So that when the community is benefited, you can also see the prosperity at home. And those youngsters who want to do this, you can take up the initiative in your village and you will get a partner who will really respect you, who will not boss over you. That is the requirement. Mutual respect will be there with the people who work with the environment. Where people who work in industries, they are machines. When they come home, they behave like machines, they give instructions. That's where the divorce papers is. You don't see many environmental science, the faculty putting the divorce paper here. Okay. Now, what is the solution for Bangalore? I get 700 to 850 millimeter rainfall. If I catch the rainwater, I have 15 TMC of water. Bangalorean requires 18 TMC. That means rainwater harvesting is the best option. Now, how you will do? If you do rooftop harvesting, individual houses will have 4 to 5 months additional water. Next best option, rejuvenate the lake and retain the rainwater. And when you use 18 TMC of water, you will also generate 18 TMC of wastewater. If you adopt my Chakur model, you have 16 TMC of treated water. That means 15 TMC because of rainwater harvesting, 16 TMC because of the wastewater treatment. You have 31 TMC of water. You don't require Mekedatu project. We have enough water in the city. That is what. That's where I had 5R formula, which is quite popular. First R is a responsible citizen. When people are responsible, they will allow the rejuvenation of the lake so that I can retain the rainwater. And also they will allow the reuse and recycle of the wastewater. See, otherwise people write to me saying that, why do you want us to drink the sewage water? What is the answer you will give? I always tell them, come with me. Tomorrow I am going to Mysore. When we travel back from Mysore to Bangalore, I will show you that Mysorean sewage flowing into the Kaveri water and you are drinking Mysorean sewage. Instead of drinking that Mysorean sewage, why don't you treat your own sewage and drink it, which is better and tasty? Okay? What is the treatment means? You are removing all those contaminants. No? You can see what you are doing today also if you go to TK plant, you will see that the same treatment is being done. Okay? Now, you can see how scientists also solve the God problem. In Gokarna temple, there is a pond called Kotikirtha. It was stinking. Local youth wrote to me. When youth writes to me, I usually take it seriously. I told my student, come, let us go in the weekend and collect the water sample and see the thing. When we went there, we saw that contamination is because of the large amount of organic matter getting into the lake, which is decaying. Because of that, the smell is hydrogen sulfur is generated. Now, the practice of that, disposing organic matter into the lake, I cannot stop it. I can stop anything in my country. I can stop even the water in the tap. People don't grumble. If I stop this practice, they will grumble. So, what I did was, I had a meeting with the priests. I told them that I will identify 2 locations.
In one location, you can allow the disposal of this organic matter, and when they dispose, you have to collect 25 rupees. You have to chant and collect 25 rupees. And another location, which I called it as Kailasa. The first one is Vaikunta, the second one is Kailasa. The Hindus will understand the importance of that. There if you dispose, you have to pay 50 or 100 rupees. By that model, I have 20 to 22,000 rupees revenue for every month, which we give it to NGO. They have hired 3 youth, and their job is to do the DVD. They do the DVD, and also they take out the rice balls and the other banana, etc. from here, feed it to the cattle in the Goshala. In the meanwhile, I introduce the fish which eats the rice, which is a bioengineering approach. For the last 4-5 years, the lake which was like this, before God met scientists, it was like this. God was taking bath of this contaminated water. But after meeting scientists from IISc and students from IISc, God is taking a clean water bath. Naturally, when you take clean water bath, your brain will work efficiently. God's brain also must be working efficiently. You look at my profile, last 5 years, you see that publication, what we have published. The remarkable job my students have done, the credit goes for this kind of the initiative. When somebody dies, we don't cry. What we do is, in their memory, we just bring the school children and take up the planting thing. One of my colleagues passed away, ornithologist, and we just did on his 12th day. We just took up the last year planting of ficus species. 5 varieties of ficus in my campus, I got it done. Okay, all of them are survived. Okay, in the campus, you will see this climber. I had seen this climber in the Western Ghats. I was fascinated by the climber. I felt I should have it in Bangalore, that too in IISc campus. I brought that seed to the Bangalore. In that pot, there were 14 seeds. Out of 14, 7 I have kept in my lab. Other 7 I planted in 7 locations. Out of 7 locations, in only 1 location it has survived. That is next to the building where I worked for the last 2 decades. That means even the plants know who will take care. Every day when I come out, I was watering, talking to the plant, and it was this one. All other 6 places, it was planted by me, but it didn't survive. That means the care is required. When children are taken care, they shine in their career. When you don't take care of the children, suddenly it will fail. That's the same thing we did here. In front of the building, I created a mini forest in 2 hectares area. 49 native species, 500 saplings were planted way back in 90s, at your age. And today you come there, you get a feel of the rainforest. Not only that, you will see the slender lorries. 4 families which were there in Maleshwaram, they are migrated to my campus. And temperature there is 2 degrees lower. And more importantly, groundwater, which was 150 feet when the region was infested with Parthenium. Today there is no Parthenium. Groundwater is at 10 to 15 feet. Now you know that. I said through the science, if you want water, vegetation required. I have proved it practically also by creating the mini forest. That's my prescription to the government of Karnataka, to have the mini forest in each ward of the Bangalore, so that every Bangaloreans will get the benefit of the groundwater recharge, etc. Okay? Then, what we learn, we carry forward to the youngsters of today. My audience is not like this, not 75, 80 kind of thing. 2,000, 3,000 kind of, okay? And never the chairs are empty. When I talk the entire audience with a positive energy, they synchronize with my thinking. We have traveled to many parts. We don't take off on Sunday, but we would rather go to some rural schools, spend a day with them. Not only me, my students, etc. And also we offer a course for the working professionals. For the last 22 years I have done it. 23rd session we have announced now. It will start in September of this year. The environmental science graduates may not know all the concepts of environment. You might be good in some aspect. If you want to get the other this one in the environment sector, maybe you can think of doing this course. So that with that course, many of the people have got a job in various countries, etc. That's another way of looking at this thing. But when we look at this, I have done the capacity building at all levels, from the school to the college to the working professional. My agenda is to enhance the environmental literacy in the system. Today in Bangalore, environmental literacy is 3.5%. That's why the Bangalore, we have a severe problem of the water, waste, etc. Because 96% of the people do not know the concept of environment, or to put it in simpler words, in Kannada, they are Shatamurtas. Because of them, we had the problem of the poor environment in Bangalore. You know, we organized a symposium once in 2 years, popularly known as Lake Symposium. You know, the 14th edition, we did it in Mudbitra. You know, the uniqueness of this event is about 1,000 people will attend. Out of 1,000, 20 to 30% are the school and college students who take active part. You know, when they take part, they listen to the presentation like what I am doing now and international expert, the knowledge, the dissemination happens. Second thing, when the children do the presentation on the concluding day, when we appreciate and give the award, they are motivated to take up the science in a bigger way. Some of the students who took part, today they have completed PhD and they are professors in institutions like IITs, IISc, etc. You know, these are the children, you know, they did carbon mapping in the catchment or the water quality, and these are the 97 batch, you know, 98 batch students. They have been trained by my students, and you see the students come to the lab, they do the analysis, then they prepare the PPTs and posters, etc. And children in rural area, they do the biodiversity mapping in the neighborhood. Okay, and that event, you know, the 25 years we are completing this year, you know, that's called Know Your Ecosystem. You know, every time when we were conducting this symposium, there were scientists from abroad used to come to the India. We used to take them to the surrounding schools and colleges so that they can interact with the students in the schools and colleges. That's how that our students in Bangalore and other parts of Karnataka benefited. And there was a scientist by name Jack Valentine from Canada. He came at least 3 or 4 times to India and spent a couple of months with me visiting the schools in, I think in one of the events we had come to St. Joseph also sometime around. Okay? So now, if you want more details, you can get it in my portal. These are the portal, and in YouTube you will get the various versions of my talk. Kannada version is also available there. So, and if you want to write to me, the best way is to reach me through email. I don't use mobile because I don't know how to use mobile. Simple.
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't want to waste my even 1 minute of my life. Okay, so that's my agenda, and these are the portal where the research things are available. And my agenda of science is to sow the seeds of knowledge in this young brain and give them to the nation. When they have the knowledge, they become sensible and responsible. And when they do a good job, there's a smile on everybody's face. Thank you very much.